In the turbulence of modern life, we inevitably find ourselves entangled in disagreements at work, at home, and in society. Conflict appears inescapable, and stress becomes an ever-present companion. The weight of unresolved tension affects not only our minds but also our bodies, leading to fatigue and, in many cases, manifesting as serious illness. Yet, amidst the chaos, ancient wisdom whispers an alternative path. The Taoist sages, in their reflections on nature and human existence, offer profound insights into the art of navigating life's struggles. Their teachings remind us that much of our suffering stems not from the world itself, but from our resistance to its natural flow. The very act of forcing, of imposing our will upon circumstances, of resisting what is, sets us at odds with the rhythm of existence. To insist that life conform to our desires is to engage in a futile struggle, one that Taoism warns will only invite frustration and hardship. Despite this, modern society is obsessed with control. We attempt to shape the world to our liking, to manipulate outcomes, to govern what is beyond our grasp, be it fate, external events, or the unpredictable nature of life itself. This relentless pursuit of dominance only fuels our anxiety. The more we cling, the more we suffer. Taoist philosophy, in contrast, teaches the power of release. The Taoism, the teachings of Zhuangzi, and even the lesser-known insights of Lizi emphasize a simple but profound truth. The way to peace is through surrender. Laozi, in his cryptic yet timeless wisdom, points to nature as the ultimate guide. Unrushed, unforced, yet everything is accomplished. Furthermore, these sages recognized a fundamental flaw in human ambition, our endless pursuit of happiness in external things. We seek fulfillment in status, possessions, and fleeting pleasures, never realizing that our very efforts to chase happiness ensure it remains out of reach. Ironically, it is the refusal to relinquish this pursuit that breeds discontent. True contentment arises not from acquisition, but from detachment, from ceasing to grasp at what is transient. Our greatest struggle is not with the world, but with ourselves, with the relentless inner demand that things be different from what they are. Taoism urges us to do the unthinkable in a world driven by ambition, to let go, to strip away illusions, to embrace stillness, to allow life to unfold without interference. Rather than imposing our will upon reality, we are invited to align with its effortless unfolding. In surrendering control, we paradoxically find true freedom. A life with fewer burdens, less worry, and more peace. Is that not what we all seek? Rooted in Tao, the universal principle that governs all things, ancient Taoist wisdom offers profound remedies for the relentless anxieties of modern existence. In a world that often feels chaotic and beyond our control, these teachings provide a much-needed antidote. The Taoist sage Zhuangzi, possessed an extraordinary understanding of the power of non-interference. He did not struggle against nature, nor did he impose his own will upon the world. He understood that forcing things to change often warps them into something unnatural. Instead, he allowed events to unfold on their own, witnessing how everything around him ripened and reached completion in its own time. This wisdom stands in stark contrast to modern society's relentless drive for productivity and achievement. Today, doing nothing is often seen as a failure, a wasted opportunity. We have ingrained in ourselves the belief that we must always be occupied, always striving, always chasing something just out of reach. Even when our constant efforts disrupt the very outcomes we hope to achieve, we persist, choosing struggle over stillness. A classic Taoist parable illustrates this folly well. A farmer, eager to see his crops grow faster, begins pulling at the young shoots, thinking he is helping them. But in doing so, he only weakens their roots and stunts their growth. His impatience destroys the very thing he wished to cultivate. Much like the farmer, we push and pull at life, convinced that force will bring results. Yet, More often than not, our excessive striving leads only to exhaustion, frustration, and an ever-growing sense of unease. The more we resist, the more we suffer. Taoism offers a different way. Instead of fighting against the current, we are encouraged to flow with it. By embracing Wu Wei, or effortless action, we align ourselves with the natural order rather than trying to dominate it. This does not mean passivity, nor does it imply giving up. It means recognizing when to act and when to step back. It means allowing things to be rather than constantly trying to make them be. Paradoxically, it is in letting go of control that we find true peace. When we stop interfering, life often unfolds in ways we never expected, effortless, unhindered, and exactly as it was meant to be. We often believe that our surroundings require our constant intervention, that without our efforts, life will spiral into disorder. Yet, whether in the workplace, at home, or in the broader world, many problems tend to resolve themselves, given enough time. Events unfold as they must, indifferent to our desires, and the outcome, whether pleasing or not, follows a course beyond our control. What appears to be misfortune may later reveal itself as a hidden blessing, just as what we tirelessly strive for might ultimately bring unintended burdens. The universe operates by its own laws, unbothered by human aspirations. Our attempts to manipulate it are, at best, exercises in futility. Zhuangzi, the great Taoist thinker, observed humanity's relentless pursuit of happiness with skepticism. He did not claim to know what happiness truly was, nor whether those frantically chasing it had any grasp of its nature. What he did see, however, was that their obsessive pursuit led only to suffering. People hurry through life, stressed and exhausted, desperately clinging to their ambitions. Yet their faces betray no joy, only weariness. If the very act of chasing happiness results in misery, then what use is the chase at all? Perhaps the greatest wisdom lies not in seeking happiness, but in ceasing to pursue it. Zhuangzi warns that even when we do obtain what we long for, wealth, status, power, these so-called achievements come bundled with fresh anxieties. The moment we acquire them, we begin to fear their loss. The pursuit never ends, and the cycle of attachment tightens its grip. As he wisely put it, those who believe wealth is essential can never relinquish their riches. Those who crave recognition can never abandon the thought of fame. Those who cling to power cannot bear to pass it to another. While they possess these things, they're consumed by the fear of losing them. When they let them go, they are tormented by grief. Yet they refuse to see even a single example of how pointless their struggles truly are. Such people are condemned by the very heavens. Zhuangzi's insight remains as relevant today as it was in his time. We labor under the illusion that we must hold on to control, to happiness, to material success, never realizing that the very act of grasping is what binds us to suffering. In reality, it is only in letting go that we truly find peace. Zhuangzi proposed a paradox that challenges the way we think about happiness. We can only truly experience it when we stop striving for it. As long as we actively chase happiness, we remain bound by the struggle of having or not having it, caught between the disappointment of unfulfilled desires and the fleeting satisfaction of getting what we wished for. However, when we abandon the pursuit altogether, something unexpected happens. By no longer fixating on achieving happiness, we naturally begin to experience it. Contentment is not something to be acquired, but something that emerges when we cease to measure life through the lens of gain and loss. Another Taoist sage, Lizi, observed that people crave recognition, believing that praise affirms their worth. To be acknowledged by others provides a sense of validation, reinforcing the idea that our achievements matter. But Lizi valued emptiness over admiration, arguing that when we detach from external validation, we relieve ourselves of unnecessary burdens. In his view, much of what we receive credit for is not entirely of our own making. We often take pride in things heavily influenced by factors beyond our control: circumstances, genetics, timing. Many so-called accomplishments are merely the product of favorable conditions rather than personal effort. Consider, for example, the modern phenomenon of social media fame. An Instagram model, widely praised for beauty, is often benefiting from genetics and prevailing beauty standards rather than any inherent personal achievement. If what we are celebrated for is largely predetermined, what is it that we are truly accomplishing? Lisi suggests that instead of anxiously seeking validation, we should embrace quiet detachment. True peace does not come from external recognition, but from the ability to remain still within. He wisely states, recognizing the emptiness of things helps cultivate stillness and peace of mind. If you do not learn how to keep still in this chaotic world, you'll be drawn into all kinds of unnecessary trouble. The pursuit of praise is as hollow as the pursuit of happiness. Both tether us to external forces beyond our control. It is only in releasing the need for either that we begin to experience true freedom. Much of what we chase in life is empty. The meaning we attach to our pursuits, success, status, approval, is often nothing more than an illusion, a value we impose upon things that in reality hold no inherent worth. Praise is hollow, frequently undeserved, and even when genuine, it remains fleeting. The same can be said for many ambitions we deem important, but ultimately prove insignificant in the grand scheme of things. It is as if we engage in these endless pursuits, not because they truly fulfill us, but because they distract us from confronting the underlying emptiness of existence. Yet, what if we stopped running? What if, instead of resisting this emptiness, we embraced it? Instead of filling the void with distractions, we acknowledged its presence and let go of the games we play. The competitions, the constant striving, the relentless search for happiness? According to Lisi, we would be far better off. Laozi, the great Taoist sage, warned against the danger of constantly stretching beyond our limits. To force ourselves beyond what is natural, to endlessly reach for control, is to invite suffering. In his profound work, the Tao Te Ching, he wrote, "Those who stand on tiptoes do not stand firm. Those who rush ahead do not get far." To stand on tiptoes is to overextend oneself, to reach for control over things that cannot be controlled. It is an act of imbalance, a desperate grasp at power that ultimately leads to instability. Zhuangzi, another great Taoist thinker, expanded upon this idea by distinguishing between two types of people. The person whose law is within himself acts freely, independent of external praise or criticism. He is not swayed by the opinions of others, nor does he let his peace be dictated by circumstances beyond his control. The person whose law is outside himself is governed by external forces. His emotions rise and fall based on events outside his influence. He becomes a mere plaything of fate, controlled by the world rather than being in harmony with it. This second type of person is forever at the mercy of conditions he cannot command. When things go well, he is happy. When they do not, he is full of worry. His life becomes an endless struggle to attain what he desires and avoid what he fears, a futile attempt to mold an unpredictable universe to his will. As Zhuangzi put it, he who seeks to extend his control is nothing but an operator. While he believes himself to be surpassing others, those who watch him see nothing but a man straining, stretching desperately to stand on tiptoes. The more we grasp, the more we struggle. The more we force, the more we suffer. In the end, it is not through domination of the world that we find peace, but through letting go, through learning to stand firmly, rather than always stretching beyond ourselves. One of the key lessons from Johnston's writings is the importance of redirecting our focus from the external world to the internal. In the end, it is not the outside world that determines our emotions, but our own minds. The events around us may be chaotic, unpredictable, and entirely out of our control, yet the way we respond to them is entirely within our power. If our goal is contentment, it is far wiser to adjust our mindset rather than exhaust ourselves, try to manipulate circumstances beyond our influence. The more we depend on external factors for happiness, the more we find ourselves straining, reaching, standing on tiptoes in an effort to grasp what remains elusive. But when we shift our focus inward, we free ourselves from this exhausting pursuit. Zhuangzi observed that it is not fate itself that troubles us, but rather our anxiety about fate. Take the example of an archer. When he practices alone, he shoots with ease, hitting his target effortlessly. But the moment he competes for a prize, his performance falters. Not because his skill has changed, but because his mind has. The presence of reward awakens the fear of loss. He no longer thinks only of the arrow, but of what it represents, victory or failure. The weight of his desire drains his strength. As Zhuangzi pointed out, the solution is simple: let go of the outcome. If the archer focuses purely on the act of shooting, rather than on winning, he remains steady. Likewise, when we detach from our fixation on results, we regain clarity and peace. But how should we approach fate itself? How do we reconcile with an uncertain future, one that holds both fortune and misfortune? Lizzie tells a story of an elderly man from the kingdom of Qi who was tormented by a fear that the sky would collapse and the earth would crumble. He lived in constant distress, convinced that if such a catastrophe occurred, he would have nowhere to escape, no way to survive. A friend attempted to soothe him, assuring him that such a disaster would never happen. But when a wise sage heard of the old man's fear, he took a different approach. He acknowledged that, in theory, the possibility of the sky falling is not zero, but that it is a waste of time to dwell on it. He then laughed, dismissing the entire concern as meaningless. Whether or not the heavens and the earth will collapse is beyond our knowledge, he said. If they remain, then we may live without worry. And if they do collapse, then there is nothing we can do about it. So why waste time fearing what we cannot change? The lesson is profound. Why be anxious over what is outside our control? If disaster never arrives, our worries were pointless. And if it does, no amount of worry will prevent it. In either case, fear is futile. To truly master fate, we must first master our minds. Only by surrendering the illusion of control do we free ourselves from its burdens. The old Taoist sage once reflected on a timeless truth. There is no value in fixating on whether the earth will one day perish. Why? Because it is entirely beyond our control. If such a fate is destined to unfold, then it will unfold, whether we resist it or not. No amount of worry will alter the course of nature. In truth, our fear often stems from uncertainty rather than from any real knowledge of what we dread. We label certain outcomes as disasters, yet we have no true understanding of them. Consider death. What does it actually mean to be dead? We fear it, but do we know what it entails? Or take the events of everyday life. Losing a job, the breakdown of marriage. Such occurrences often seem catastrophic at first, but are they truly misfortunes? How many times has what seemed like a tragedy turned out, in hindsight, to be a hidden blessing? We assume that what disrupts our plans is always to our detriment. Yet life unfolds in ways beyond our comprehension. Whether for better or worse, the future is not within our grasp. And so to spend our time consumed by worry is nothing more than self-inflicted suffering. As the Taoists remind us, whatever is beyond our control is beyond our concern. The wisest course of action is not to resist, but to accept, because in the grand scheme of things, our fears hold no power over what is meant to be. If this exploration relationships resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to continue receiving content that challenges and nourishes both the mind and soul. We'd love to hear your thoughts or questions in the comment section below. Until next time, may you stay wise, stay stoic, and continue your pursuit of a life filled with purpose, balance, and peace.